Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to be doing my criminal profiling presentation on Clifford Olson, or better known as the Beast of BC. So this is Clifford Olson. He committed 11 murders within a 90-kilometer radius of the Vancouver area between 1980 and 1981. Clifford Olson was born on January 1st of 1940. He was the oldest child to Clifford and Leona Olson. He grew up in a small house near the Pacific National Exhibition Grounds, better known as the PNE, in Vancouver, British Columbia. I did see one source that said he grew up in Edmonton, but I only saw one source for that, and plenty more that said he grew up in Vancouver. So this is a photo of Richmond, BC, post-World War II. Richmond is where Clifford Olson and his family moved to after the Second World War. Clifford was a short, stocky kid who was always getting into fights. He was remembered by his father, Clifford Olson Sr., as a problem child who was, quote, always getting into fights and getting beaten up, end quote. So at 10 years of age, Clifford Olson began skipping classes in school. After finishing up the 8th grade, Clifford dropped out and began his life on the wrong side of the law. He was reported as being a loner, a loser, a failure. He was put in prison for the first time on July 19th, 1957, for 9 months. The crime he committed was burglary. Clifford Olson Jr. was 17 years old at this time. Over the following 24 years between his first conviction and his last in 1981, Olson would amass almost 100 criminal convictions. These are some of the charges: obstructing of justice, possession of stolen property, possession of firearms, forgery, false pretenses, fraud, parole violation, impaired driving, theft, break and enter and theft, armed robbery, escape from lawful custody, rape, buggery, gross indecency, and lastly, first-degree murder. Over these 24 years, he also escaped from prison 7 separate times. An example of one of these escapes was while doing 3.5 years in the BC penitentiary for break and enter with theft. Olson fled 3 corrections officers who was escorting him to Shaughnessy Hospital after he managed to fool the prison into believing he had an illness. There was a large police chase, with Olson eventually slipping away from police. Olson was on the run for roughly a week before he was apprehended in Blaine, Washington State, USA. Under mandatory supervision, Olson was freed 5 times during the 1970s. Each and every time he was released, his behavior landed him back in prison. Clifford Olson Jr. was released from prison for the last time on September 7th, 1980. 40 days later, his first murder would be committed. Olson's modus operandi, MO, he offered victims jobs, or drugs and alcohol, to lure them in, and then subsequently strangled, bludgeoned, stabbed, and unfortunately raped them. On November 17th of 1980, Olson claims his first victim, which is 12-year-old Christine Weller. Initially, her disappearance was not seen as suspicious. When multiple of the disappearances are reported to the police, they don't take them very seriously in the beginning, commonly saying that the children simply ran away. Christine Weller was found on Christmas Day, 1980, in the Vancouver suburb of Surrey. Her body was found in the woods south of the city. Her body showed signs of stab wounds and strangulation. On April 16th, 1981, Olson would abduct and murder 13-year-old Colleen Deneu, his second victim. She vanished from Surrey, and her body was found 5 months later. Clifford Olson would murder 15-year-old Darren Johnsrud on April 22nd before marrying his wife, Joanne Hale, on May 15th, 1981. 4 days after the wedding, Olson would again murder another underage teen, Sandra Wolfensteiner, 16, at the time, is murdered while attempting to hitchhike. The remaining 7 of Clifford Olson's murders would occur within the space of 39 days. The photos are outlined in red on this slide here. June 21st, 1981 to July 30th, 1981, the murders in chronological order were Ada Court 13, Simon Partington 9, Judy Cosma 14, Raymond King 15, Sigmund Arndt 14, Terilyn Carson 15, and Louise Chartrand 17 years old. In the midst of the murders, Olson is charged for sexually assaulting a teenage girl. However, the police don't link this to the recent string of deaths. On August 12, 1981, Olson is arrested for attempting to pick up two hitchhikers, and on August 18th, he is charged with the murder of Judy Cosma. On January 11th, 1982, Olson's trials would begin, only to end within 3 days of starting, because he reversed his plea of not guilty to guilty on all 11 counts of first-degree murder. Clifford Olson Jr. is then sentenced to 11 concurrent life sentences with no chance of parole for 25 years. Olson is almost as famous for what happened after he went to prison as he is for the actual murders he committed. So on January 14th, 1982, the first information about the Cash for Bodies deal leaked. Quote, the rationale behind the Cash for Bodies deal is that it was only revealed after Olson was sentenced in January 1982. The police had agreed to pay Olson $30,000 for evidence on the 4 bodies they had recovered before his arrest in August 1981, with an additional $10,000 for each subsequent murder site he identified or body he helped locate. Olson was so chuffed about this arrangement that he provided details about one murder for free of charge, a freebie as he liked to boast. End quote. The money was given to his wife, Joanne. So this is a photo of Kingston Penitentiary in Kingston, Ontario. After the murder trial, Olson was sent to Kingston Penitentiary in February of 1982, spending 23 hours a day in a cell in a special administrative segregation unit, or E-block. This was for inmates who needed protection from other inmates. So in August 1989, Globe and Mail Justice reporter Kirk McKinn visited Olson, described him as fit, as you can see in the picture here, and still obsessed with trying to get out of prison. On August 19th, 1997, Olson applied for parole under the Faint Hope Clause, which was abolished in December 2nd, 2011. The Faint Hope Clause allowed for prisoners to apply for early release after 15 years in prison. This is an image of the coat of arms of the Parole Board of Canada. On July 18th, 2006, Olson again applies for parole after serving 25 years in prison, and is once again declined within 30 minutes. On March 10th, 2010, news leaked that Olson's been collecting old age security and guaranteed income supplement payments since turning 65 years old. And on June 1st, 2010, the federal government introduced new legislation barring prisoners from receiving these payments until they are released. And finally, to conclude, on September 30th, 2011, Clifford, the Beast of BC, Olson, dies of terminal cancer aged 71 years old. Thank you for listening to my criminal profile presentation. These are obviously my citations. Have a good rest of your day.